Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a warm welcome to all of you who have joined us here live today at Copenhagen Business School, as well as all who have tuned in on our live stream from all around the world. Welcome to the final of the largest student case competition in the world. Welcome to the final of CBS Global Case Competition 2020. My name is Silas.
And my name is Matilda, and we will be your hosts for this event. We're both truly honored to be hosting this event in a year that has been record-breaking, both in terms of sign-ups, hand-ins, but also the amount of different nationalities of all the participating students. This year, 3,600 students from 84 different nationalities signed up and competed in this 24-hour case competition in teams of 4. Out of all of the collected hand-ins, 9 teams made it to the semifinals. And now, we're down to only 3 teams who will present their solutions live here tonight at the finals. And we will witness who will be the winners of the Global Case Competition of 2020. But Silas, before we get started, maybe you can be so kind to elaborate on what the Global Case Competition actually is.
I sure can. The Global Case Competition is a new format that was first introduced in 2019 as a response to the increasingly digitized world, with the ambition to create a case format that allows for all students globally to participate in case solving. When participating in Global, the students receive the case online, meaning that they can be anywhere in the world when solving the case. All teams then have 24 hours to solve the case before they have to hand in their solutions. Last week, 9 teams out of the hundreds of solutions that we received were selected to present their solutions at a live stream session at our semifinals. And from there, finally, the top 3 teams that you're going to be seeing here live today were selected. But moreover, and perhaps what's even more important, is our vision for this year, which is shaping a better future for tomorrow. We're standing at a critical point in time. Climate change is urgent, and firms need to adapt, develop new strategies, and find sustainable business solutions. And we want to help to push this agenda. Therefore, the Global Case Competition unifies students worldwide, provides international perspectives, and gives cultural insights into how to incorporate sustainable and global business strategies. Never has this agenda been more important as it is today.
Thank you very much, Silas, for that elaboration. And this takes us to our program of today, and it is as follows. First and foremost, we would like to introduce our fantastic jury panel. Secondly, in order to get to know the case company and to better understand the circumstances behind the case, Dorode Nielsen, the Vice President of Corporate Environmental Strategy at Novo Nordisk, will join us here on the stage, as well as the case developers of this year. Then, each team will enter the stage and they will have 15 minutes to present their solutions, followed by a 10-minute Q&A from the jury. When all the presentations are done, we will have a 20-minute break consisting of live music, which will be announced later on. This is also the perfect time to get up and stretch your legs and get a refill of beers. After the break, it's finally time to announce both who is the individual who's been the best presenter of tonight, as well as, of course, the winning team of this year's case competition. But even though all good things must come to an end, we have made sure that the celebrations do not end here. We will continue the evening and be heading to Nexus and celebrate our annual event, Blue Nexus, which will include some free beers and beer pong tables and great music. So, ladies and gentlemen, there's no time to waste here. I am ready. You guys are obviously ready. And Silas, he's also ready. So,
I sure am.
Let's get started.
But before we get underway with today's presentations, we would like to introduce to you the people who will be our judges today. Our jury panel consists of top executives from various business fields who will each contribute with their individual expertise. So, ladies and gentlemen, please help me to welcome the jury panel of the Global Case Competition 2020. First of all, I would like to introduce Thomas Sejlund, COO and CFO at Too Good To Go.
And then we have Thomas Hoffmann-Bang, CEO of Industriens Fund.
Next, we have Dorete Nielsen, Vice President of Corporate Environmental Strategy at Novo Nordisk.
Morten Kraigendal, Partner and Head of Quartz Danish Office.
Henrik Parker, Corporate Vice President and Head of Corporate Accounting at Novo Nordisk.
Marianne Winholt, CFO of Ørsted.
Christian Stadil, CEO and owner of Tornico.
Eva Berneke, CEO of KMD.
And last but certainly not least, Alexander Martensen Larsen, former Group CEO and CFO at IC Group.
Now, when we have our extraordinary jury seated, we would like to welcome this year's case developers to the stage. These are the people that, in close collaboration with Novo Nordisk, has developed this year's case. So please, everyone, give a hand for Simone, Anna, and Martin to the stage.
Hello and welcome. We are the case developers of this year's CBS Case Competition 2020. And this year, Anna, Martin, and I, we just decided to task ourselves with creating a case that revolved around sustainability. By doing so, we decided to join the global movement that is currently letting its voice be heard across the globe. It is a movement that is calling for rethinking, for new initiatives, and finally, it is a movement that is calling for action.
As a consequence, we quickly came to ponder upon the concept of sustainability itself, because amidst the appearance of Greta Thunberg, the US withdrawing from the Paris Agreement, and the fires in the Amazonas, it can be hard to see the forest for the scorched trees.
In order to find the solution, we looked across the entire business world for examples of unique measures and best practices. Nevertheless, we quickly realized that sustainability is more than just a reduction of plastic waste and carbon emissions. It is the firm belief that mankind can be more than just consumers. It is the willingness to give rather than take, and it is love for the world surrounding us and the people living in it.
Which was exactly why we got our eyes fixed at Novo Nordisk from the very beginning of our case developing process. Not only is Novo Nordisk the most valuable company in Denmark, it is also a company that is founded on the romantic dream of one man, August Krogh, who seized the opportunity to build a better future for his wife, Marie. A dream that has since expanded into include every person affected by diabetes across the globe.
Through an insatiable thirst for innovation and a desire to help people affected by diabetes and meet them eye to eye, Novo Nordisk has proven that social responsibility and growth can go hand in hand. This visionary mindset is currently being expanded to include not only Novo Nordisk itself, but its entire value chain, encouraging others to jump on the bandwagon.
The Novo Dream is a dream we believe in, and we believe in the lessons learned from Novo Nordisk's story, that empathy and compassion aren't the antithesis to profit. And we believe that this is key to the sustainability of tomorrow. A tomorrow that is characterized by access to healthcare and clean water, and not by poverty and landfills.
Hence, we could not be prouder to be part of shaping the next stage of this grandiose dream. Our roles in this process has been to convey the bold ideas of the envision of Novo Nordisk to thousands of students worldwide, to partake in the immense work of selecting the cream of the crop, and hopefully to have made a small contribution to change in perception and sustainability around the world.
This year, we tasked students with assisting Novo Nordisk in devising a plan using the principles of circular economy as a driver for growth for the upcoming 30 years. By no means an easy task, and a time frame this long is seldom seen in case competitions. However, Novo Nordisk believes that in order to stay at the forefront of the industry, a mere 5-year plan will not suffice. On the contrary, only through constant scrutiny of existing business models can a company realize its position and remain viable for decades to come.
We at CBS Case Competition applaud Novo Nordisk for tapping into the immense resource base that is the global student community for inputs in their journey towards excellence, a journey we have worked hard to pave the road for. We are now about to see the result of a selection process harder than any of us could have imagined, and we cannot wait to see the presentations of Kaizen Consulting, AARQ Consulting, and Infinitum Consulting on a stage. And may I quickly add that it is truly an honor to have so many consultancies on the stage today. But before we get this far, we would like to hand the word to Dorette Nielsen, Vice President of Corporate Environmental Strategy at Novo Nordisk. Thank you.
Well, thanks a lot, and thank you so much for that wonderful introduction of our company. That makes us truly proud. I'm heading up Novo Nordisk Environmental Strategy and are overall responsible for the environmental footprint. And I can say when we were first approached by the CBS Case Competition, whether we would like to be the case company for the year, we were extremely proud, and we said yes immediately. And given the result that we have seen, or will see later, is a result of more than 3,600 students have actually taken the time to try to solve some of our biggest issues. They come from more than 84 nationalities. So it's really a global competition that we have here. So just a little background on our environmental journey. Last year, Novo Nordisk announced a new environmental strategy called Circular for Zero. And I could ask now how many of you have heard about it. Maybe I will wait for just 1 minute, because then all of you know what this is about. Circular for Zero is about achieving zero environmental impact. That's the ambition. That is what we want to achieve in the long run. And we have decided that a good means for that could be by introducing a circular mindset. So we really want to work with circular economy in order to achieve zero impact. That is why we call our strategy Circular for Zero. It's a strategy that not only addresses our production, but really takes the full value chain perspectives all around, from our suppliers, our own footprint, and our products. So a full value chain perspective, which I think is quite unique in our sector. We also know that achieving zero is not easy. Also because that we know for sure that more people in the coming years will be diagnosed with diabetes, unfortunately you can say. So our business will be growing, and at the same time keeping our environmental impact at zero will definitely be a challenge. So that requires us to rethink how we operate. It requires us to rethink our business model, and that is why we have asked your brave students to help us figure out how can we as a company use circular economy to reach more patients in 2050 and at the same time achieve zero environmental impact. So I look forward to see the 3 finalists later present, and in a couple of hours to announce the winner. So good luck to all. But I think we will start by showing the case video. Thank you.
What happens to the waste from your business?
Do you use recycled materials wherever you can?
How do you transport your products?
How much water do you use?
Why don't you only use green energy?
Can your products be recycled?
Could you ever stop using plastics?
What are you doing to stop climate change?
Novo Nordisk is one of the world's leading healthcare companies. For almost 100 years, we have discovered and developed innovative medicines and helped people defeat diabetes and other serious chronic diseases. We employ over 43,000 people globally and market our products in more than 170 countries. Each year, 29 million people rely on our medicines. Producing and distributing them puts us on the front line of some of today's biggest environmental challenges. Challenges that will keep growing as the number of people living with diabetes is expected to rise from 463 to 736 million by 2045. Even so, we've set ourselves a bold ambition to have zero environmental impact. As of this year, all electricity used in our production will come from wind, water and solar sources. And by 2030, we aim for zero CO2 emissions from operations and transport. To get there, we need to rethink how we conduct our business. We must minimize consumption of raw materials, eliminate waste, and design our products so that they can be recovered and reused. In other words, it will require us to embrace a circular mindset. We are also committed to continue reaching more patients to support better health for generations to come. This includes expanding access to our medicines, investing in prevention of type 2 diabetes and obesity, educating healthcare professionals, and offering patient support programs. Zero environmental impact and patient outreach, two core commitments for our business and two key elements in our challenge to you.
I'm Lars Fruergaard Jorgensen and I'm the CEO of Novo Nordisk. How can we use the concept of a circular economy as a driver for reaching more patients while striving for zero environmental impact? We're grateful for your help in answering this very important question for our business. And I'm looking forward to hear your great innovative ideas. Good luck.
Thank you very much, case developers and Dorade, for allowing us to get a sneak peek into the big machinery that is Novo Nordisk. Before we welcome our first and finalist team, we will kindly ask all of you to remain silent during the presentations and to respect all of the participants standing here on the stage. But now, we're familiar with Novo Nordisk and the case. Our jury is seated and we cannot wait any longer. The time has come to introduce and to welcome our first finalist team to the stage. This team has traveled a very long way to be here today. They were up at 4 a.m. in the morning to present their solutions during the semifinals, which was a good thing because they secured a spot here tonight at the finals. Please, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for AARQ Consulting, all the way from McGill University in Canada.
Welcome to the stage. The rules are as follows. You will have 15 minutes to present your solution, and afterwards there will be a 10-minute Q&A. You'll be notified both when there are 5 minutes left of your presentation, as well as the Q&A. And with that being said, the stage is all yours, and we wish you the best of luck.
Good luck.
Good afternoon, everyone. It truly is an honor to be here, and thank you for welcoming us in beautiful Copenhagen. We are ARC Consulting, and these are my colleagues Quentin, Ariane, Raphael, and myself and Sophie. Now, before we dive into our strategy, I wanted to bring your attention to the two individuals that we have up on the screen. One of them has diabetes, but both of them don't know it yet. This is the kind of reality that we always kept in mind when developing our strategy, enabling our solution to really accompany them throughout their journey. Now, you gave us a very broad mandate. You asked us to embrace a circular economy, all while increasing patient outreach and striving for zero environmental impact by 2050. This is how we developed our Pharma as a Service strategy, an end-to-end approach. We begin with an awareness campaign, which increases patient outreach, encouraging them to go talk to their doctors and go get diagnosed. We couple this with a lifestyle application fit for a lifestyle disease, and close it all off with a circular economy approach, really giving your single-use devices a second life.
Now, before we actually dive into our strategy, we want to make sure that you understand the key drivers of our decision-making here. So the first thing, naturally, is following the UN SDG goals. In our strategy, we address 5 out of the 17 goals, and every time that we tackle one of them, we're going to include one of those icons on the slide. Secondly, there's a trend that I want to draw your attention to. It's Dr. Google. Dr. Google refers to the democratization of medical information online. And instead of fighting it, we want to make sure that Novo Nordisk actually leverages this trend to make sure that its customer has access to the best information possible. Now, there's a quote that really inspired us in designing our decision. It is a quote that is beautifully highlighted on this banner just behind you by your CEO, saying that Novo Nordisk does not wait for change, but actually drives change. And you can be sure that we embedded that at the core of our strategy. Finally, in terms of implementation, our timeline is to sketch out a strategy by 2030, and then be fully able to scale it up by 2050 to achieve zero waste.
Now, you might be wondering, where do we go to market? We recommend the United States as the initial market due to 2 main reasons: demographics and strategy. Looking at the demographics, we can see that the projected diabetes rates will rise up to 15% by 2030, which is a 38% growth. We'll also be targeting 18 of the largest cities highest at risk of developing diabetes. Now, in terms of the strategy, we broke it down to 3 parts. There's a free market approach that drives your company to have more leeway when you start your strategy. Secondly, there's a wide array of support groups that will also help you along the way. And then thirdly, you also have established networks and distribution centers. Tying back to the main 2 reasons, strategy and demographics, this is why this is the best optimal market to drive your initial forward, despite considering Europe and China.
We want Novo Nordisk to compete on 2 key aspects: the customer journey and the product experience. To do so, we identified 2 areas in the supply chain where Novo Nordisk has the most control. We decided to do that because it made the most sense for Novo Nordisk to highlight and focus on areas where it can have the most impact. We decided that the 6 facilities that produce our API, our active pharmaceutical ingredient, aka insulin, were one of the more strategic assets that we wanted to leverage, and you'll see them coming back throughout our strategy. We also wanted Novo Nordisk to get a little bit closer to its patients by increasing the number of touch points they have with them. And finally, we acknowledge that all throughout the supply chain, waste is produced. Novo Nordisk currently takes into account 10% of the waste being produced by itself. Our goal with our strategy is to make Novo Nordisk accountable and responsive for the waste produced over the life cycle of its product.
Now, as mentioned by my colleague, we were able to increase the amount of touch points that Novo Nordisk has with their patients. I'd like to introduce you to a dear friend of ours, Sydney. Sydney is a 27-year-old female who lives in Miami and has to work 2 jobs in order to support her family. She really doesn't consider health to be her #1 priority either. On her way back home from work, she notices a poignant advertisement on the side of a bus that encourages her to go talk to her doctor about diabetes. After being exposed to this call to action pretty frequently, she actually does and leaves her doctor's office feeling completely frazzled. She was just diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. She finds herself at the pharmacy with a Novo pen, has no idea how to use it, and feels very unaccompanied. That's where the Novo app comes into play. Now, it's been a month that she's been using this pen, and she feels much more comfortable with it. The Novo app encourages her to bring back her empty cartridges and used needles to the pharmacy in order for them to be recycled. And that's something that she feels good about.
In terms of the first prong of our strategy, it focuses on bringing the consumer into the doctor's office and making sure that they receive the right treatment, which in our case is a Novo Nordisk treatment. We aim to do this by breaking away from the rule of halves. It plagues a lot of different diagnostics, but mostly it plagues diabetes, especially in our case. To bring back those people that we've lost, that lost margin, we're targeting US minorities that have either Hispanic or African American descent. We're also targeting people that have a little bit less education and younger adults. we're partnering with the American Diabetes Association. They're the largest advocacy group in the US and therefore are already on the ground. Through Novo Nordisk's funding, we want to allow them to organize educational and awareness workshops that are going to reach these minority communities and make sure they're aware of what diabetes symptoms look like. This is going to be complemented by a patient-centric marketing campaign centered around the theme that life doesn't stop at diabetes and therefore neither should you. The marketing that you see on the screen, it falls right in line with what's commonly seen in the US. Very direct, focused on a call to action, which is exactly what we wanted to do, prompt our consumers to go to the doctor. It's based on a case study of prostate cancer in Canada, where a disease that's regarded in a very negative light, prostate cancer, brought men through their campaign to think twice about their health and really look at what they could do and brought them to the doctor. This campaign will be displayed on buses, TVs, and college campuses across the 18 cities that we targeted earlier. We also wanted to note that based on benchmarks such as the prostate cancer study, we anticipate that about 5% of the people who will see this ad will respond and go to the doctor. This is a significant margin and should allow us to capture and serve our customers much better.
Now, in order to make a lasting impact, we developed an application that is fit for a lifestyle disease. Essentially, the Novo app is an integrated toolbox that really helps patients like Sydney tackle what they have to now consider as their new normal. The Novo app covers all 5 core patient needs, no matter their socioeconomic background, meaning that if you're diagnosed and you download the Novo app, you have access to critical information that will not only let you live with diabetes, but thrive with diabetes. This helps us tackle SDG goal number 10, which is reducing inequalities. In terms of the app itself, it's filled with tangible features that Sydney really likes, but her favorite one happens to be the recipe of the day recommendation. As mentioned earlier, she doesn't really know how to implement a healthy lifestyle into her day-to-day basis, and the app helps her do that. Also, the app is extremely convenient, given that within a few clicks, she can refill her prescription at her local pharmacy. How do we tackle the challenge, though, of maybe Sydney no longer using the application within a few months or even within a year? We mitigated that risk thanks to gamification and greener point incentives. Every time that Sydney brings back her empty cartridges and used needles to the pharmacy for them to be recycled, she accumulates greener points. Also, she's given really cool benchmarks where she can see the kind of impact that she's actually having on the environment. For example, a month's supply of empty cartridges being recycled is equivalent to her saving 19 plastic bags. And if everyone within the Novo app community participates in this movement, they'd be saving over 640 million. These are the kinds of tangible metrics that are really attractive to Novo Nordisk's patients, enabling them to really fall into this whole green mindset.
So now that Sydney is educated and incentivized to be fully part of the circular economy, we need to make sure that we deal with the end product in the right way. Our product is divided in 3 parts. The first part being the pen, and congratulations, the pen is already it's recyclable and very easy to recycle after. As you can see, the chairs just here are actually made of Novo Nordisk pen. This is pretty impressive. On the other side, the 2 main challenges are going to be the cartridges and the needles. The cartridges right now are being recycled in recycling bin. However, it means that they're taken care of by local governments, and even in very developed countries, plastic is only recycled up to 50%, and we think that Novo Nordisk can pretend to do better. On the other side, we have needles and single-usage pens, which are considered as bio-waste, and there are very strict legal regulations with that. Most of the time, they're taken care of by their own countries and end up in landfills. So what are we going to do to solve this issue? For the cartridges, we want to fully leverage the circular economy, bringing the cartridges from the customer to the customer again. And in terms of the needles, we want to use the latest technology improvements to use the needles as fuel for renewable energy. So what does that mean? When Sydney gets her prescription from the doctor, she goes to her local pharmacy and she gets her pen, she gets her cartridges, she gets the needles, and she gets a little pamphlet with a QR code. She then goes home, opens the needles and the cartridges. In the needle bag, you have a yellow bag with written recycled needles on it. And same thing with the cartridges with a blue bag. She then downloads the application and learns how she's going to use the bags. After using the needle and the cartridges, she's going to place them in the respective bag. At the end of the month, she gets a notification that she's ready to take a refill at the pharmacy. She goes to the pharmacy, gets a new refill, gives the bag to the pharmacy, and goes back home. Now, what are we doing with these bags? The distribution center is going to come and deliver the new product, and they're going to take those bags in their distribution centers. Then the needles are going to be taken care of by the distribution centers. They're going to put them in a MAX machine. They're going to be burnt, releasing 0 CO2 and 5% of biochar, and actually fueling the distribution centers with energy. On the other side, the cartridges are going to be shipped to one of the 6 filling centers in the world, where they're going to be autoclaved, asepticized, and then they're going to be shipped back to the customer. So what do we achieve? On one side, the needles produce 0 waste and don't end up in the environment, actually fueling the distribution center with energy. And on the other side, we achieve the full circular economy with the cartridges, going from the customer to the customer again.
Now, you might be wondering where we're going to find these MAGS machines. This is where we recommend that you should acquire Terragon, which is the exclusive manufacturer of the micro-auto gasification system, aka MAGS. There's 3 main reasons for this. Firstly, you're ensuring the expertise of the staff and the patents that you'll be acquiring through the acquisition. Secondly, you're also locking in scalability of the product through your distribution networks of 40,000 suppliers. And then thirdly, you're also ensuring the sustainable competitive advantage of Novo Nordisk, as you'll be the only player in the market right now with this available machine. Now, in terms of the financial implications, we're looking at 200 million Danish kroner, which currently represents 1% of your cash on hand for 2019, which is a very feasible amount. Now, tying everything back to the financial implications of the strategy, we broke it down to 3 parts: projected sales, costs, and finally results. For the projected sales, we took an incremental sales basis for your diabetes products in the United States and broke it further into 3 parts: the organic growth from the attractiveness of the US market, as well as acquiring new customers through the awareness campaign, as well as the application campaign. The result is an 8% growth in your sales to 2025. For your projected costs, operational costs, 34% is going to come from the awareness campaign, 37% from sales and distribution, and finally 20% from research and development. In terms of the capital expenditures, we're looking at factoring in the cost of the MAGS machines, as well as the autoclave, and the marginal amount of developing the application. Now, clearly, we can see that the results here are very positive in terms of your free cash flow, as well as increasing earnings per share to 8% till 2025. And tying everything back together, we can increase your share price to 39 Danish kroner. So this is very attractive for your company financially. Now, in terms of the implementation of the strategy, we can break it down into 4 parts: the 3 prongs of our strategy, and finally the future consideration. The awareness campaign will start for the first year to develop it, and we'll roll it out for the next 5 years. Similar implementation for the patient support. And finally, the circular economy, we believe that acquiring the company will take around 2 years, and then rolling the shipping back logistics, as well as the fully implementing their solution, will go from 2021 onwards to 2026. Bearing in mind that the strategy is successful, we believe we can scale it up into new markets, such as Europe and China, from 2026 and onwards.
Now, looking at some key takeaways, things that we wanted you to remember from our presentation. There's KPIs that are financial and environmental. We strongly believe that they complement each other. The first is a 9% share price increase that you're expected to see with our pharma-as-a-service strategy. You're expected to save 4,000 tons of plastic per year from landfill and generate enough energy to power 840 homes. Our pharma-as-a-service strategy uses a circular economy as a driver to reach more patients, provide them with better care, all while making 0 environmental impact and being aligned with the 5 SDGs. So if we go back to our couple from the beginning, their customer journey is radically changed. When they go to the doctor, incentivized by one of our marketing campaigns, they leave the doctor no longer frazzled and questioning what's going to happen. They're able to go to the pharmacy, download the app, and then take part in one of the most innovative circular economy projects that's been ever implemented. We're really, really honored to have presented to you today. Mange tak, and we open the floor for questions.
Hello, are we allowed to pose questions now? Excellent. Hi, my name is Christian. Thanks for a great presentation, and thanks for taking your time out of your, I'm sure, busy schedules to come to our small country here in Denmark. You have a big focus on B2C. A lot of what you talk about is very in-consumer directed. You mentioned a lifestyle app. You mentioned even gamification. You mentioned making a campaign, all words not normally associated with this industry. Interesting for sure, but is it also allowed, even though that you say the law is not as harsh in the US as in other countries, is it allowed to work with gamification? Is it allowed to make an end-user directed app and so on? Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you very much for your question. It's something that we took a lot of time to consider as a team, especially toying with the idea of playing with personal data now. So one thing that we wanted to cover was GDPR. And we made sure that when building our application, it would be GDPR compliant. And in terms of the kind of data that we would come in touch with from the consumer, there are really 4 more sensitive parts. When you download the application, you put in your name, your diagnostic, the kind of device that you use, your local pharmacy as well. But given the fact that the app respects the GDPR, all that data is perfectly secure. Also, when it comes to coming into contact with patients through our advertisement campaign, given that we're working with support groups, it's really the support group's message that's being directed to the consumer. On our slide that really shows us more the marketing campaign, there's no Novo Nordisk logo there. It's just the American Diabetes Association. So it's Novo Nordisk who has the same goal as the support group, who's able to then communicate directly with consumers, just hovering over them but never touching them directly.
Hello, my name is Eva. Quick question. Again, thanks for a great presentation. Also very much appreciate that you think through the various KPIs, both in terms of financial KPIs, but also environmental KPIs. So you have a few examples here, but my question to you is a little bit with the focus you have on purely the US economy and also on the very patient directed and getting patients to recycle. Are you actually, what do you need to believe to actually make the 0 in 30 goal? Is it enough? Have you thought through whether that's going to be enough to actually make that goal?
Okay, so since I still have the mic, we might have my colleagues add on to what I'm going to say. But what we did indeed consider is being able to grow. It's a future consideration. Starting off with the US is because we wanted to rely on the infrastructure that the US currently has. To be able to implement the MAGS machines and be able to produce energy, we needed to have the infrastructure in place, which is pipes and water supply and electricity that's stable and well established in terms of infrastructure. So it's definitely a market that we considered first. However, we're easily able to implement this as we open more filling centers, production centers in different economies, but we just have to make time to adapt to all of these different local systems. So we definitely think that it's enough, but the 2030 or the 2050 zero buy is something that we thought would be more of a scale up, while the US market would really be our first step.
If I might just add to that, the reason why we focused on the end product and not the earlier part of the supply chain is because by 2050, we expect those parts of the supply chain to be way more ecological with less waste. So for example, distribution, electric cars are going to be a big part of the economy in terms of how you make your products. You're already very good at it and you don't put a lot of waste. So the main issues that we saw here was the product, and we expected the rest of the supply chain to rise towards a more ecological advancement in the future.
Yeah. Hey, my name is Thomas, and I would like to echo my colleagues. Thank you a lot for the great presentation, for taking the time to get here. I like the holistic approach that you have taken. I think we can all agree that awareness is one of the key problems around diabetes. And your suggestion is to address the awareness through if I may call it a traditional campaign, and then take it to the next level through the app. Did you at some point discuss to turn it around and use the app to create the awareness?
Yes, thank you very much for this question, and this is something that we've considered along the way. So we broke it down into 2 parts, like you had mentioned, you even highlighted in your question. So there's the awareness campaign, just to be able to break the rule of halves, the amount of people who transition from knowing that they have diabetes and actually getting the care. So that's the point of the awareness campaign, is to lock in these potential customers that will then be able to get diagnosed properly. Now moving on to the part with the application, what we found is an academic study actually showed that with a successful application, you create this, this effect that's called the network effect, that you actually are able to increase the amount of customers around by around 8%, knowing that the application is successful. So we're tying in additional consumers through two fronts, the awareness campaign as well as the successful application with the application effect.
And if I may just complete the answer, just to make sure that we're touching back again to that legality perspective, the app is not designed to necessarily be marketed to people who do not have diabetes. And that's something that, again, we're not quite touching the consumer for legal purposes. So even while we're building awareness, we also want to make sure we're building awareness with a crowd that has a need for insulin, which, again, are the patients of Novo Nordisk.
Hello, hi, my name is Morten, and thanks a lot for the presentation. Just a short question for the conversion rate on the app. You know, we know it's super difficult to get people to change behavior and actually go down and turn in carriages, packaging, etc. like that. Do you have any precedents or kind of examples where you have based your conversion rates on?
So there's two ways that we looked at it. We looked at the fitness applications in the United States that were very prevalent in the early of the 2010s. And what we found is we wanted to match the difference in lifestyle to similar to these applications. We looked at two applications, the application for the Fitbit as well as the application for the Nike Run Club program. And what we saw is a lot of these people who not only were incentivized to buy, let's say, the Fitbit bracelet, but also to download the application and create this, locking in these customers essentially. But also you're creating a community along the way, which is what I was tying back to the network effect, that you're also able to lock in or incentivize more people to come in and join the application, as it is a very attractive lifestyle that is associated with the app. So these are the two case studies that we used, the Fitbit application as well as the Nike Run Plus.
If I can just slightly add to that, diabetes is a disease that you live with for life. When you take an insulin shot, you take it every day. So you're very likely to download the application because of that. You're not just downloading a running or health application. This is something that follows you every day along your life, and that's why we believe that we will have a high engagement rate with the application.
Yes, question from me on the business case. Could you elaborate a bit? You have an organic growth and you have an awareness campaign, and you come to a quite impressive increase in value of 111 billion Danish kroner. Do you also build in the organic growth that would be there anyway, or is it just the impact of the awareness campaign?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? I just wanted to make sure to clarify.
You have an incremental free cash flow calculation, and then you get to the additional value from your initiatives. My question is, when I look at the material here, it looks like you both build in the organic growth and the awareness campaign and the application campaign. Don't you, in a way, benefit from the organic growth in your calculation, or how do you do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a great question. So we wanted to highlight organic growth because this is just the reality of the market, and it's tied into the free cash flow as well as the earnings per share and the increase in share price. Now, the incremental added benefit comes directly from the awareness campaign and the application campaign. The way we were calculating it is we used a discounted cash flow valuation, as you can see with the free cash flows, and we factored in the capital expenditures as well as the depreciation of these mags and autoclaves to be able to attain a earnings enterprise value that is positive, that will add on to the financials of the company as a whole. And we also factored in for the earnings per share by going down the income statement and saw that it was very accretive as well. So we factored in all three parts.
And is this only the US market, or do you also take into account the other markets?
So this is just for the US market to start off.
Yeah.
All right, thanks a lot for a very good solution and presentation. I wanted to get a little back to our products. You have kind of chosen one of our products that is durable, that can actually be used several times by the patients. Have you considered the other portfolio we have, which is actually maybe the majority of our market, which is the product that you only use until it's empty? That's the pre-filled.
Thank you, ARC Consulting, for an interesting presentation. I would definitely like to see some of these technologies and this approach to be implemented in the Novo Nordisk business model. Great job. You may now be seated with the rest of the audience. Over there. And now, ladies and gentlemen, if I could please have your attention once more. Now it is time for us to welcome the second team to the stage. And in a global case competition with participants from more than 84 different nationalities, it is our great pleasure to welcome to the stage Infinitum Consulting from Copenhagen Business School.
Welcome to the stage. The rules are as follows. You have 15 minutes to present your solution, and when those 15 minutes are up, the jury will ask questions for 10 minutes. As stated to the previous team, you will be notified when there are 5 minutes left and 1 minute left, both with the presentations and the Q&A session. We wish you the best of luck, and please, you can start whenever you're ready.
Good luck, guys.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you ever so much for that warm welcome and for coming out on a rainy Copenhagen day to support CASE at CBS. My name is Carl, this is Robin, Janus, and August. Together, we are Infinitum Consulting, and we're here today to tell all of you a bit of a little story. We were, of course, all aware of Novo Nordisk Consulting even before we received this case. However, one fact very quickly became clear to all of us. Even though Novo Nordisk is a big company, it's still a company that's fundamentally built upon two core communities. The patient community, that being the individuals who rely upon Novo Nordisk products to lead a better everyday life, and the supplier community, the over 40,000 firms that work day and night to ensure that Novo Nordisk can provide these life-changing products reliably and without any hiccups. Our solution lies in empowering these communities for the mutual benefit of the communities themselves and Novo Nordisk in reaching its ambitious objectives and accelerating future growth. We call this the opportunity of unity. The pharmaceutical industry presents sizable opportunities and threats moving towards the future. Most of this relating to the fact that diabetes is becoming increasingly common across all social classes and all regions of the world. This synergizes with the fact that the benefits of sustainability are growing in the collective consciousness. And according to the OECD, sustainability is becoming more and more of a factor in consumer purchasing patterns, especially in developed nations where Novo Nordisk currently makes the brunt of its revenue. As well as this, the EU recently passed a law saying that they will invest 1 trillion euros by 2030 to encourage sustainable business, a massive opportunity for Novo Nordisk to leverage. Through our analysis, we found that competitive advantage stems from two main factors: research and development, where Novo Nordisk is already a market leader and incredibly strong, and supply chain effectiveness, and thereby the cost base of production, where we see an opportunity to improve, especially now that Sanofi, the market's third biggest player, has exited the diabetes market research segment. This leads on to the major complication that we'll be addressing today. Almost all of the 306,000 tons of CO2 emitted by Novo Nordisk in 2019 stems from external suppliers, making a one-policy-fits-all solution both impractical and unrealistic to fix all these issues, as well as the fact that increased competition has forced margins to their lowest since 2015 at 31.9%, and low community engagement leads to patient isolation and a diabetes diagnosis feeling like a death sentence, to quote the case. Synthesizing all this, we have our major question we seek to answer, and our answer to this is our solution, which we call the dual integration strategy. optimizing with consulting, and unifying with Novo centers, focusing our resources upon the Asian, North American, and European markets, and our impact upon the core Novo Nordisk communities, leading to a clear environmental and financial impact, all of which will be discussed throughout today's presentation. And I'll now pass you on to the capable hands of Janus to take you through some of Infinitum's major insights.
Thank you, Carl. So moving forward, Novo Nordisk faces two main challenges. Firstly, we see that the amount of people suffering from diabetes worldwide is massively increasing in recent years, with the number expected to be approximately 780 million people in 2025, up from 463 million people in 2019. Now, this trend is similar for obesity as well. So with this increase in market potential also comes an increase in competition. And although Novo Nordisk is comfortably situated, it is being threatened by low-cost producers such as Jolfar and Wockhardt. This means that Novo Nordisk needs to find additional ways of creating value for its products to stay competitive. Now, moving to the supply side, we see that approximately 90% of CO2 emissions from Novo Nordisk comes from its 40,000 suppliers and not Novo Nordisk itself. Now, with this many suppliers, complications can easily arise in the supply chain. Furthermore, the control that Novo Nordisk has with its individual suppliers is vastly reduced. So, to achieve the goal of zero emissions by 2030, Novo Nordisk needs to make fundamental changes to its supply chain. Now, to assess market attractiveness for the future allocation of resources, we broke it down by region and looked at 4 major criteria of market attractiveness. Based on this analysis, we found Asia to be the most attractive region, primarily due to its huge market size, with the Chinese market alone expected to be around $503 billion by 2023. Furthermore, we found North America and also Europe to remain important cash cows, both due to their large market size, but also the already comfortable position of Novo Nordisk in these regions. Now, these two regions combined have a revenue of 83 billion Danish crowns, 60 billion of these coming from North America. The AMEO region, although attractive, does not offer the same market potential currently as the other regions mentioned. Now, when it comes to sustainability, Novo Nordisk has continuously been at the forefront. We see important milestones such as in 1993, where they were the first Danish company to publish an environmental report. And also, more importantly, in 2020, they recently met their goal of all electricity used in production coming from renewable energy sources. So, while Novo Nordisk is at the forefront with its proactive policies, the goal of Circular for Zero is such a highly ambitious task that using emission data from 2018 and 2019 and extrapolating, we see that this goal will not be reached. In fact, it'll only get worse. This is also exemplified by the fact that Novo Nordisk went from 58th to 71st in the corporate annual sustainability rankings by Corporate Knights. Moving to the patient side, we see 3 emerging patient trends that Novo Nordisk needs to take into consideration. We see that consumers in low and middle income countries are becoming increasingly demanding. They want more information about their treatment and they want to be more actively involved in the process. So this means that there is a need for Novo Nordisk to establish very close ties to its consumers in these new markets. Also, we see that most diabetics currently live in urban areas, and due to the vast urbanization in these regions, we expect this number to rise. So, for the best possible outreach, we recommend Novo Nordisk to focus on larger urban areas. I'll now hand it over to August to tell you more about our solution and to introduce Jasmine and Rakesh.
Thank you, Janus. I would like to introduce you to what we call the dual integration strategy, which will streamline the supply chain and ensure lasting consumer relationships. Taking a starting point in the supply side, we have Jasmine. She's the CEO of one of Novo's 40,000 suppliers. She received consulting from a repurposed Novo Nordisk Consulting, helping her create a sustainable business approach. Also, through the consulting process, Novo will create a long-term relationship with Jasmine, characterized by increasing mutual commitment. From a patient perspective, we have Rakesh. Rakesh is one of Novo's 30 million patients suffering with diabetes. Luckily, he regularly attends his local Novo center, where he gets diagnosed tailored guidelines, improving his overall life quality. Also, by connecting with his Novo center, he gains access to a strong patient community, providing motivation and information about his illness. A revision of Novo Nordisk Consulting is needed for Novo to reach its goal of zero environmental footprint by 2030. The restructured Novo Nordisk Consulting will follow 4 defined incremental steps to encourage greater efficiency among suppliers. When having identified an inefficient supplier which produces excessive amounts of CO2, A team of 2 consultants will be delegated to the supplier. Together with the supplier, the consultants will develop a customized solution that ensures mutual benefits. This will restrain Novo from wrongly implementing a one-policy-fits-all solution. The implementation involves setting realistic and measurable goals. If a supplier fails in meeting the objectives, Novo will investigate the root of the problem and try and find out whether it stems from an unwillingness to cooperate. If this proves to be the case, Novo will again try to take action, with the ultimate consequence being replacement in the supply chain. The second part of our dual integration strategy is what we call Novo Centers. Novo Centers are physical facilities located in large cities. They have recycle stations, medical and dietary experts, and are locally adapted to local wants and needs. For example, fitness in Denmark or meditation facilities in China. Facilities that attract patients both at the time of diagnosis and beyond. These centers will inject a sense of community that will reference in the 5 core patient needs, will maximize the patient's overall life quality. These being social support, reducing complexity, balance of life, self-care capabilities, and a holistic treatment. The Novo Center initiative synergizes well with the current Changing Diabetes buses, the Novo Dia support program in Brazil, and the Cornerstones for Care support program in the United States. Novo Nordisk is a circular company already running on 100% renewable energy. By the Novo Center's help, Novo will incentivize its patients to recycle the used pens, helping reducing the current Novo estimates of 12 billion used pens ending up in landfills during the next 10 years. Also, by the restructuring of the Novo Consulting, Novo will encourage its suppliers to adapt sustainable business approaches and reduce the complexity of the supply chain. I would now like to hand you over to Robin to further elaborate on our solution.
Thank you, August. We believe that our solution fits neatly with Novo Nordisk's current strategy and company values, and will add additional value for both consumers, company, and collaborators, whilst opening up a new direct communication channel between Novo and its patients. We argue that Novo Nordisk must increase sustainability through increased self-dependency of their patients and suppliers, tackling the issue on an individualized basis. Our solution, the dual integration strategy, builds on the fundamental principles of Novo Nordisk by being people-focused, ambitious, and environmentally friendly. Additionally, the revamped Novo Nordisk Consulting fits well with Novo's current talent recruitment program, as it attracts and trains young talents. Our solution also makes significant SDG progress, specifically towards partnerships, climate actions, and sustainable cities. By implementing our solution, Novo Nordisk will vastly increase the visibility of their brand, hereby increasing both brand awareness and brand equity. By investing heavily in local presence, Novo Nordisk will be able to reach new patients, but also increase the loyalty of existing ones, hereby securing long-term profits. Specifically, we suggest developing locally adapted marketing campaigns to target the isolation felt by newly diagnosed patients, normalizing the disease and addressing stigmas such as in regions of Africa where diabetes is synonymous with impotence. Specifically, we will be using celebrities, role models, and familiar faces to normalize the disease and show that it is indeed no death sentence, hereby having a positive effect on not only the patients but also the social environment. We have divided our solution into 3 key phases, with phase 1 laying the foundations for the project. In phase 1, we will be training and recruiting new consultants with key characteristics such as systematic critical thinking as well as passion. And we will be establishing the 3 first Novo Centers in key markets well known to Novo Nordisk, which will later help us reach lucrative regions. Phase 2 will consist of continuous expansions of both aspects of the initiative and will allow time for both reflection, reconsidering, and recommitting to the project. Phase 3 is kept largely blank, as we are aware that decision made so far in the future will be largely determined by the world and market situation faced by Novo Nordisk at the time. However, by investing in local responsiveness as well as long-term relationships, we expect Novo Nordisk to be able to adapt to the new environment and be in a highly lucrative situation, hereby moving from subjective assessments towards objective science-driven goals. I'll now hand you over to Carl, who will take you through the risks and finances.
Thank you ever so much, Robin. Now, as with any business investment or change, there are, of course, we have identified 3 contemplated risks that cross the critical risk line marked here in white. Even these 3 risks, though, can be averted through active risk mitigation. For example, risk 2, that costs go over what was budgeted in the implementation plan. We've ensured a 10% contingency is placed on all the costs you'll be seeing in our financial projections very soon, as well as ensuring clear individual accountability, as well as a clear chain of command to make sure no issues go unaddressed in project implementation. On the quantitative side, we impact both the supply and demand side in the short and long run, with consulting driving cost reductions that grow 27.1% compounding annually and lead to notable EBITDA for Novo Nordisk. Novo Centers, on the other hand, remain profitable, but offer mainly qualitative value associated with adding value for consumers and patients, as well as improving brand equity for Novo Nordisk on a global scale. Our knowledge of revenue and cost drivers has allowed us to adapt this business plan to Novo Nordisk, with the dual strategy requiring initial investment of 28,500,000. Only 5.5 million of this stemming from consulting, representing the low capital expenditure requirements of the solution. Positive NPV is guaranteed in all cases, whether that be the bear, base, or bull case, with payback also ensured within a period of 6 years across all cases, providing an attractive ROI as a major KPI as to how we will quantify the effectiveness of our solution. We've only forecasted up to this period of 6 years in order to allow the most accurate financial projections possible, but if we were to assume a perpetual growth rate, this NPV would of course be significantly higher. Diabetes market leadership we predict to further by almost 10% by 2025, and according to an algorithm we've created, CO2 emissions are neutral in 2030 in almost all cases, assuming at least moderate success of one of our solutions, as you can see in the following sensitivity analysis. Ladies and gentlemen, we recommend Novo Nordisk to allocate to the most efficient markets, to engage its core communities in the Novo Nordisk way and its values, and to expand, using our solutions as additions to the core Novo Nordisk business model to have a large consolidated impact. The Chief Sustainability Officer of Nike, Hannah Jones, famously said that a business needs to identify its dirty secret that it doesn't want anyone else to know. This is exactly what we've done today, and we believe that with these solutions, Novo Nordisk can reach its ambitious objectives and accelerate future growth.
Forever, without limits.
We have been infinitum, and will now be more than happy to answer any of your questions.
Hi guys. Hi. Christian?
Present. Excellent. Hi guys, or hi drenge. It doesn't sound quite as cool in Danish, but let's leave it at that. I have a couple of questions, and also thanks for a good presentation. My questions are 3 of the kind, all related to your Novo centers. First one being, it sounds very difficult, very expensive, and very hard to scale these Novo centers. First question. Secondly, what about the legality POV? Are you allowed to have these centers communicating directly to an end consumer? Thirdly, how will you organize these? Do you need doctors in these centers or what? Thank you.
Right, so the first question we will address by working with local affiliates, which will help us and help Novo to acquire the competencies of starting these facilities. We expect Novo Nordisk to be better, increasingly lowering the cost of establishing these facilities. So we believe that the cost will be lower. But for the first 3 Novo centers, we have allowed additional time, which you can see on our face. The map over our faces, where you can see that phase 1 allows for a lot of time for establishing the 3 first Novo centers, whereas after phase 1, we will establish 2 centers each year. Yeah. The second question, sorry?
The second question, touching upon the legality issues, are you allowed at all to communicate directly to end consumers?
Right, so obviously the doctors that will be in the Novo centers will not be hired directly by Novo Nordisk, which will help with the regulations. However, we will ensure that it is high quality medical experts here, which will help attract the diagnosed patients and work as an incentive to go to the Novo centers instead of just your regular doctor.
Okay, thank you. And you have actually also answered the third question concerning organization, that you will have doctors working.
Right, we will have doctors, dietary experts, and we will also have recycle stations in every Novo Center. We will also have some places for socializing, and we will adapt the rest to the local market.
Thanks for a great presentation. I have a question building on the brand image. So there are three cornerstones there: marketing, sponsor events, and using celebrities. Have you considered the fact that marketing of pharmaceutical products are illegal in most markets, which would make all these free events or activities illegal?
Right, so again, we would look at the specific market before implementing these solutions. Our idea was that by gaining a size of a critical mass, the Novo centers would be able to brand themselves, and we would not need to put in additional investment to market these facilities.
Yes, again, thanks for a good presentation. I have questions around your supply chain part of the presentation. I'm questioning the scalability also of this consulting business, but one also other important thing is that when you get to CO2 reductions for this more difficult, for example, the transport sector and not energy, but the rest of it, it tends to become increasingly expensive because it requires more to get rid of the CO2. Is that something you have taken into account in your plan? Because it seems in a way that you're only getting the benefits, but you're not paying the extra cost to greenify Novo. So.
You can hear me. I guess the answer to your first question about scalability, of course, you have in Novo, you have 4,000 suppliers, which is an enormous number, and therefore you also need a big amount of consultants to sort out the problem lying in the supply chain. And we have thought of that in the global consciousness, sustainability is becoming of increasing importance. And for example, as Novo already have their graduate programs, we go there and seek young and new talents to be recruited for the new consultancy. And also by promoting the noble cause of this project. And also, this is also exemplified the increasing importance of sustainability by how the Circular for Zero was created to begin with the 800 activists creating the opportunity to in being what we build on today. And in regard to the cost associated with bringing down emissions, would you like to further elaborate, Carl?
So in terms of the cost and the overall sort of diminishing margins that you talk about, this is actually something that we have addressed in our financial modeling. So if you look at our financial projections for the consulting initiative, you'll see that our margins are steadily decreasing. And that's because we assume that we'll first target the biggest and most inefficient suppliers and move to the smaller ones as we go along in the process. So obviously as we get to the more and more efficient suppliers, our margins will decrease, and that is how we've adjusted for the fact that that there is this diminishing marginal utility effect that you refer to.
Thank you guys for a great presentation, and I really appreciate you also actually trying to answer the core thing, will we make it by 2030? It looks also in your analysis like the two initiatives are equally important. There's some symmetry around that. But in between it, what are some of the key drivers that you need to believe to actually make it to zero impact in 2030?
Well, obviously, the goal of zero emissions by 2030 is a highly ambitious program with only 10 years left. So the key is really to work closely with suppliers to make them understand that sustainability is not really just an option anymore, it's a requirement. Also, we see a correlation that's supposedly only getting stronger between being sustainable and having good financial performance. So the goal is really to
try to make these suppliers, especially the most inefficient and largest ones, that sustainability is a requirement and that it can be achieved through mutual cooperation with Novo Nordisk.
Well, also thank for me from a great presentation, and it's nice to see that we will achieve our targets in 2030. That is obviously very important for us, so thanks a lot for that. My question is really about the patient side. So how will you encourage the patients to deliver the pens back at the centers?
Right, so we believe that doing good, by having Novo Nordisk do good and be branded as a sustainable company and creating those local communities, Novo Nordisk will be able to incentivize those local communities that they could be directly informing about the benefits of sustainability and recycling. We could also use an example that Novo recently sent Christmas gifts, some lamps from recycled pens, which could help with marketing. As well as I heard some of the stools at campus today were also made of recycled pens. So we believe that using this as marketing would further increase the likelihood that people will be recycling these pens.
I actually have a follow-up question, and that's a little more related to the concept of circular economy. One of the drivers or one of the questions we kind of asked was that we would like to see that circular economy was being used in terms of us reaching more patients and reaching for zero impact. So how can you explain a little more how you have incorporated circular economy in your solution?
Yeah, I would really like to explain about that. So Novo Nordisk, as I said, is already a circular company, and so it runs on 100% renewable energy. And by having our Novo centers, we will, as Robin said, incentivize the patients to recycle the pens, and thereby, as you know, we have the current Novo estimate of 12 billion pens ending up in landfills, and we believe that this will help reducing that. And regarding, what was the second part of your question, sorry?
I think that was my question regarding the circular economy.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, but also the circular economy is also consisting of the supply chain, of course, and it will also help Novo move towards the circular supply, and so it will help streamline the supply chain, and like with our restructuring of the Novo Consulting, help reducing the complexity and the overall emission levels in existing in the supply chain. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, thank you for a great presentation, and I would really like to follow the implementation of this Novo Center. You may now join ARC Consulting in the audience. Thank you very much. Finally, let's see if our last team can battle any of these two previous solutions. This team has traveled more than 16,000 kilometers to be here today. Let's welcome our last and final team to the stage. Please give it up for Copenhagen Consulting, all the way from New South Wales University, Sydney, Australia.
Welcome to the stage. As with the other teams, I'll just briefly walk you through the rules. You'll have 15 minutes to present your solutions. When those 15 minutes are up, you'll have 10 minutes for the Q&A session. You'll be notified both when there are 5 and 1 minute remaining of the presentation, as well as the Q&A. And with that being said, the stage is all yours, and we wish you the best of luck.
Good luck.
When we think about the advancements in modern medicine, we think about the iconic developments in things like vaccines for diseases, surgery for physical injuries, and very importantly, insulin for the hundreds of millions of people who are impacted by diabetes worldwide today. What we see is that by 2050, over 500 million people will be having diabetes, and that Novo Nordisk is well positioned in the industry to not only help these patients, but really change their lives forever. But what really makes Novo stand out from the rest is its appreciation of the simple resources such as the water we drink, the energy we use, and the plastic within our products, and that they really understand that sustainability is the key to success. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jack, and I'm joined here with Penny, Jess, and Raymond, and we are Kaizen Consulting. And today, we are here to help Novo not only breach the barriers of innovation, but fundamentally change the way that medicine is delivered to its patients. We first begin by actually analysing the production and distribution processes of Novo, which exposes it to a number of environmental challenges. We see that your consumers, your investors, and your stakeholders are becoming increasingly conscious of the environment, and that in order to succeed, it is critical to adapt to these changing needs. You came to us today with the question of what are the next steps for Novo to continue expanding its patient outreach, but also hit its target of zero environmental impact by the year 2050. And our solution, the Novo Patch, is a leading-edge delivery system for insulin, which not only allows you to change the way that medicine is administered to your patients, but fundamentally changes your business model in an environmentally and sustainable and environmentally conscious way, which helps enhance and simplify your patient experience, ultimately resulting in an impact of more than 2 times as many patients helped by the year 2035. So how we achieve this is by utilizing and leveraging 2 of your core pillars at Novo. Firstly, achieving the impossible. And from this, we've seen that your organization over the past 100 years has continued to develop innovative medicine. And today, we're here to continue to help you do that, turning scientific ideas that many thought were impossible into medical reality. This will all be underpinned by your second pillar, being a front runner in sustainability. And we want to ensure that we keep in mind 3 core guiding principles of reducing environmental waste across your processes worldwide, upgrading your products so they're more reusable and recyclable, but also collaborating with the right strategic partners that align with your goals. We begin our analysis by looking at your value chain across your production processes, distribution and transport, as well as the patient experience. We see that in the production process, your existing initiatives of targeting 100% renewable energy across your production facilities by 2020 and 93% of total waste being reused and recycled is excellent. And we want you to keep doing that. Across your distribution and transport areas, we see that your target of having 0 emissions by the year 2050 is excellent and in line with the EU goals. And we see that the key success factor for this is the ability to partner with the right strategic players in the market to help you achieve this. Finally, we see across the patient experience that there is a significant amount of plastic that is currently being used in your insulin products and packaging, and that the disposal of this waste typically can end up in landfill. But not only are we here today to help you reduce this waste, we want to be here to improve and empower your patients to make sure that they are contributing and feel like they're contributing to environmental sustainability. So looking at a typical patient journey of Mary, she gets diagnosed by the doctor and then is recommended a Novo product, which she then uses. What happens is at the disposal phase of this journey, the proper disposal would be by segregating all of this waste into 4 key categories of sharp waste, biomedical waste, e-waste, and also plastic waste. But due to the complexity of disposal for these products, a lot of it will end up in the regular household garbage bin, as Mary might not have access to the right disposal method for waste such as syringes. So we want you to keep in mind today that Novo Nordisk must understand the patient's reality. And we want to help you come up with a solution that is not only simpler to use for the patient, but also simpler to dispose of for the patient. So ultimately, for each and every one of your 29 million customers, they'll be empowered to really feel like they're also contributing and aligned to Novo Nordisk's goal of environmental sustainability.
The future of medicine is about the complete integration of treatment and lifestyle. The Novo patch revolutionizes modern medicine, making the administration of insulin accessible, sustainable, and minimally invasive. Critical to our strategy is the division of the Novo patch into two key parts, the insulin dispenser and an adhesive patch. The insulin dispenser automatically monitors blood glucose levels and dispenses insulin accordingly. Different to the current insulin pump, this dispenser does not come with a screen. Instead, it is directly connected via Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and 3G to Android and iOS applications. This dispenser connects with a patch made from biodegradable bamboo fibers and a pressure-sensitive adhesive. It's also underneath contains thousands of polymer microneedles made from sustainable starch-based plants such as corn, potatoes, or rice. These plants and microneedles can deliver insulin directly through to the subcutaneous level of the skin, optimizing the bioavailability of insulin. Ultimately, what this allows is the increased accessibility, usability, which empowers patients to live a life that's beyond the administration of their insulin, to live a life beyond their diabetes. And ultimately, that's what medicine is for. Treatment is an enhancement to life, and life should not become about treatment. The Novo patch represents a fundamental change in the customer experience. After being diagnosed with the need for insulin by their doctor, the customer signs up to a subscription service where they receive a package containing insulin dispensers, connection patches, and a return envelope and secure bag that is completely sanitary. They're immediately able to affix the dispenser and use it in place of their existing pumps or needles. The predetermined amount based on their blood glucose levels at the time is tracked by the iOS and Android app, which allows them to completely monitor their current levels and track the historical dispense of insulin. Once the insulin is depleted, a notification is sent to the app, and the customer is immediately able to replace it with one of the other dispensers in the package. They then send it back via express post to the recycling Novo Nordisk plant, and the patches are recycled under high heat, and the dispensers are sanitized and returned to the customers for use depending on their insulin requirements. Now, critical to this strategy is the integration of data and applications to the existing experience of treatment. Live updates to the My Novo app and existing iOS and Android health apps allows for data to be instantly shared with health professionals. What this allows is less frequent medical appointments, better tracking of customer statistics, which ultimately facilitates the enhancement of life by not being defined by one's illness. They're able to go months without appointments and finally return to their doctor when they do need a change. These key metrics and analysis allow for the customer to take full control of their life, empowering them to make a difference and have a life that's beyond their treatment. So despite this initial higher research and development cost of products, a subscription-based model generates longer-term revenue and has a higher economic growth rate, and also a sustainable environmental impact. The subscription-based model enables a more accurate forecast of demand, allowing Novo Nordisk to predict the quantity of insulin required, as well as the number of patches they'll be needing to produce, and as well as it allows them to understand their customer retention. So in the highly commoditized space of insulin, they need to find a way to drive customers to continually use their products. So in addition to creating a much easier and more accessible service, by allowing more incentive programs as well as tracking of customer data, they're able to drive patients back to use the Novo patch. Furthermore, it's completely aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals, as the reusability of the Novo patch reduces waste compared to current products which use a lot of plastics which are not biodegradable, and this reinvents the way that the medicine is delivered.
The rollout of the Novo patch will be supported by a shifting business model using renewable energy, zero waste production, and zero carbon emission transport. We aim for 100% of waste produced in the production process to be reduced, reused, or recoverable by 2050. Now, currently, Novo Nordisk is doing exceptional in meeting the zero waste production goals, with already 93% of waste going back to the Circular for Zero cycle. However, this does not take into account the waste that is produced from your products once in the hands of your patients. This is why, through the Novo patch, we will be bringing patients along with us on a journey to a more sustainable future. By engaging with the shifting business model, the subscription business model, patients will now know how to dispose of the products in a more sustainable manner. Traditionally, disposable components such as needle nibs, plastic cartridges, plastic packaging, insulin vials will now be replaced by a biodegradable patch, which will be sent back to Novo Nordisk to be treated accordingly. Moving on, we also aim for Novo Nordisk to achieve zero emissions in their transport goal by 2030. To do so, we are recommending looking into new strategic partnerships with green-focused logistics and transportation services, as well as more green modes of transport, such as electric vehicles and hydrogen fuel-based vehicles. Currently, 58% of Novo's carbon emissions are coming from transport. Looking into our current distribution partners, there is a key trend towards selecting more medium-sized and regional-based services with a focus on speed of delivery at the expense of sustainability. Now, we are recommending we look into partnerships with more strategically aligned services who have similar zero-emission missions as Novo Nordisk, such as DHL or Maersk, both pioneers of green logistics and transportation services. Together, we'll be able to achieve a more sustainable and carbon-neutral future.
Our team has outlined a structured implementation plan so that Novo Nordisk can roll out our strategy in a meaningful and impactful way, with key performance indicators set to define what success means. We'll be starting with the research and development phase of our Generation 1 Novo patch, which is set to transform the way that diabetes treatment is delivered and administered. Following our initial launch, we'll be continually evaluating the success of our product whilst we look into the development of our Generation 2 Novo patch, which includes Internet of Things enabled technology. These two strategies will serve to more than double the number of customers that we are projected to reach by the year 2035, and will be supported by a customer education program that will enable Novo Nordisk to communicate to its customers how this product will benefit their lifestyle and how the customer plays their part in the sustainability cycle. The second step of our strategy will be looking to transform your transport and production capabilities by incorporating newer and greener technologies. Some of these changes, as mentioned, can be implemented almost immediately. For example, partnering with Maersk to almost immediately and greatly alleviate our carbon footprint. Other changes will be consolidated as part of our long-term sustainability strategy, such as incorporating a green electric vehicle as part of our corporate fleet, and ultimately making a drastic shift to hydrogen-based fuel once that technology becomes commercially available. So what do these changes mean in a tangible way for Novo Nordisk? Well, primarily, it'll allow us to achieve our primary objective of increased patient outreach, with a projected 60% of people impacted by diabetes benefited by our products and our strategies by the year 2050. Although the initial capital outlay is significant, we project that our strategy will be sustainable and profitable over the long term, generating an internal rate of return of 16% across this 30-year period, representing a net present value of 224 billion Danish kroner. Of course, none of this financial success means anything without significant strides in its sustainable development goals. And we wanted our strategy to not only support Novo Nordisk's current targets, but enable it to grow and reach more ambitiously in these targets by reducing the number of emissions that we release, by innovating our products, and ultimately reaching 100% renewable and waste-free operations by 2050. So in summary, our team has considered the key objectives and needs of the two stakeholders of this case. The customer that wants an easier and more accessible diabetes treatment product that can enhance their lifestyle, not hinder it, as well as feel supported by the corporations that they are loyal to in their efforts to become a more environmentally conscious and global citizen, and Novo Nordisk that wants to cement its position as a market leader across three fronts: in medical innovation, in sustainability, and financial strength. And it was these key considerations that informed our overall strategy, which is a transformative device that is both revolutionary and sensible. I'll now open the floor to questions. Thank you for your time.
Hi guys, thank you very much for a great presentation and a really good creative solution. On your solution, I'd like to know how you consider the fact that in most jurisdictions, patents expire after 20 years?
I think a major part of Novo Nordisk's brand positioning and its development so far has been its constant innovation. So the Novo patch is a great innovation for the moment, and it really explores the customer's need. But as patients expire, 20 years is a long time. That's a lot of time for research, it's a lot of time for development. So it allows a sufficient scope for it to become established in the market in this new kind of technology, as well as predicted to continue to develop, so it would potentially need a new patent in the future.
Understood, but how have you considered in your business case?
So within the business case, it starts off with there is a significant research and development, as well as Jack, who's done some finance.
So I think the core to this is the fact that the Novo patch isn't a single product. It's more of a simple idea that we want to simplify the patient's experience and simplify the way that they also dispose of this. As outlined in Raymond's sort of implementation timeline, there will be a number of generations of this, and it'll be an iterative process of actually developing this product. And as we develop it, we can continue to patent certain elements of it. So a very first iteration of a product might just be a biodegradable adhesive patch that can actually integrate with insulin. And as we develop this, we can now have greater capability to actually track the blood glucose levels, and we start to patent each and every one of these stages as Novo Nordisk continues to spend more in the research and development. And we see that as this is developed over the next 20-year timeline, the core of this is to make sure that whatever product we are developing is focused on patient outcomes, making sure that the patient has a simpler experience and does not necessarily need things like syringes to actually administer this medicine. And we want to ensure that this is reflected across all the different jurisdictions that Novo Nordisk is also operating in.
Hi guys, you place quite a big emphasis on transport, and on that you also mention electric vehicles. We know that there's plus minus zero emissions from tailpipes on electric vehicles. But what about the production of batteries? What about the production of electricity? Have you factored that in, aka is it realistic with your zero emission target?
So I think one of the core goals of why electric vehicles is that first step is that we see a lot of your partners, such as DHL and Maersk, are currently expanding into electric vehicle fleets. We have that second step after when things like hydrogen fuel, which can actually be produced in a renewable way and is CO2 emissions neutral, can become the future. By the time it's the 2030 or 2035, we can see commercial viability in those types of technologies. We want to ensure, as we are partnering with players in the market that do transport and logistics, that we constantly have an open conversation with them and constantly discuss what types of technology they're using, and that they're also using renewable ways of actually funding and supplying for us.
Thanks for a great presentation. I think the patch is truly innovative. Have you considered delivering the insulin through a pill as an alternative? It appears that that would be better both for the patients and the environment. Insulin in a pill?
So actually we did consider administering insulin in a pill, but one of the fundamental changes that we would like to make by implementing the Novo patch is the fact that the customer doesn't have to think about it. So with a pill, they still have to remember to take it at periodic intervals, before meals, whereas with the Novo patch, it automatically monitors their blood glucose, and then they don't have to think about it as frequently. And it's automatically sent to their app, and although you could send a notification to take a pill to your app, it's still something that they constantly have to do on a daily basis. And that's one of the key changes we wanted to make, is simplify the customer lifestyle.
Thank you guys for a great presentation, also quite a lot of innovation and thinking behind it. also actually appreciate the courage to put in your big spreadsheets and all the financials here. As you point out, it is a fairly heavy investment up front of well more than $1 billion over the first 4 or 5 years. Practically, have you considered what are some of the key stages that you'd have to go through, maybe measuring success and whether this should come in and out before you've actually spent that full $1.5 billion?
Great question. So when it comes to research and development, I think our team wanted to recognize the fact that research and development isn't a 100 or 0 or all or nothing cause. A lot of the things that we'll be developing are applicable across a range of products, and I understand that the research and development and the effort that Novo Nordisk puts into that is a company-wide objective, and it enables them to better their products across its range. So whilst some research and development efforts may not be ultimately successful, there are lessons to be learned, and there are things to be taken from that experience that will ultimately benefit the organization. The second part of this answer is that the reason we implemented a very incremental and iterative process was because we wanted to minimize the risk that we would have a financial loss with our strategies. So looking at the NovoPatch 1, if we do find that there is a significant financial success in the launch of that product, obviously we'll be putting a lot more effort and time into the research and development of a second iteration, one that comes with increased capabilities. And it is that iterative process that allows us to really reconsider at every stage what our strengths and our weaknesses are and implement a better product for the customer.
A question more out of curiosity. I really admire your creativity. How did you come up with the idea?
So, insulin dispensing batches have actually been in development for about 10 years now. And I think just last year, the FDA has actually approved the use of it. But right now, we're still looking at a more commercially available option and production of it, which is why we're recommending this for Novo Nordisk to take up as a very, very good opportunity to become the market leader in this technology.
Hey guys, thank you for a great presentation, and I like the fact that you dare to focus on only one solution, so thank you for stepping up on that one. You suggest that this is a subscription-based model, and as I understand your pitch, then the reason is that to increase customer loyalty and to increase predictability in the business. Are those actually problems today? I would assume that the patients are some of the most loyal customers, and given the market development, it's quite predictable to do insulin.
So I think in terms of the predictability and the loyalty, we see that insulin currently is quite a commoditized product. But what we also want to do is start to add more value to each of these customers' experience. So sort of the new business model we're proposing is that the actual devices itself will be owned by Novo, and that the user and the patient will be paying for the actual insulin that they're getting on a either weekly, monthly, or yearly basis. The key reason behind this is that we can now, as a company, have greater predictability over the insulin dosages, but also greater monitoring of that information, so you can kind of forecast for a patient how's their blood glucose level actually changed over time, without constantly going to the doctor and having inconsistent information from them. And I think for the end of the day, for the patient, the experience that they have is that they will have better control over what information they have. They can see all of the information that is being collected, and they have full control over that to really enhance their own lives. And that is the value add that we think will help them make sure that they cannot or will not go to any other product or any other competitor.
And just to add to that point, with a subscription-based model, we're able to dial in on that circular for zero concept. By having a subscription-based model and owning the dispenser itself, there's a drastic reduction in the amount of products that we actually need to make for the customer. If they do lose one or break one, we're able to replace that for a small fee, instead of them throwing out that product and buying an altogether new one from us. And then implementing that subscription-based cycle for the insulin patches themselves, we're able to get a return on the products that they have already depleted. We're able to refill that and return it to them with new capabilities. So with that, we're drastically reducing the amount of products that we're wasting in the production cycle.
How long? Getting back to the financials, and I'd like to echo Eva's comments in terms of applauding the fact that you've included them in such detail. What's your reasoning for increasing the marketing spend over the entire period? from my perspective, with a single product launch, at some point you would want to start decreasing it, actually milking it before launching a new product again.
So I think the reason behind the actual increase in the marketing spend over time is that we believe a big part of the success of this strategy is actual consumer education. We see that there is this negative stigma in the society that there are a lot of people who aren't going to doctors to actually get diagnosed, and this could be due to things like the needles and syringes. Yeah.
Thank you very much for an interesting presentation. And I guess it will be interesting to see what the future holds for the Novo Patch. You may now join the rest of the teams in the audience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I don't know about you, but all I can say is wow. I have to stress once more, these presentations and the solutions have been developed in only 24 hours. I don't know about you, Matilda. Yeah, let's give them a round of applause once more. I don't know about you, Matilda, but I'm certainly glad I'm not the one who has to decide on just one winner here tonight.
Well, Silas, I completely agree, but luckily this decision is not up to our, is it? It's up to our highly qualified jury. So we would now kindly ask our jury members to leave the room and to vote for a winner.
Let's give them a round of applause as well.
We will now have a 20-minute break, and please let me introduce from Denmark's Got Talent. Give Habengoods a warm applause.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you could all please find a seat or somewhere to stand with your beer. And if you could all be quiet for a moment. First of all, thank you to Harpengoods for an entertaining show, I think I can say, on behalf of all of us. And quite sustainable in terms of the materials, if I might add. Now, we have been informed that our jury has come to a final decision. At first, we would like to welcome to the stage all of the 3 finalist teams of tonight. And I certainly think that they all deserve yet another round of applause. Now let us also welcome to the stage Morten Breindal from Kvarts, who will announce the best presenter. Microphone for Morten. Do we have a microphone for Morten? Perhaps? Maybe? Maybe not? Oh, we have one of our representatives there. Excellent. And off we go.
Hello. Yep. Otherwise, I would have to shout quite loud in this big room here. So thanks a lot to all the teams. I think you have done a really, really great job in terms of presenting your solution. So thanks a lot to all. It's actually been a quite close race in terms of choosing the individual who did it the best. But I think presenting a case like this is not just about the numbers and the content. It's a lot about storytelling. It's a lot about passion. It's about speaking both to our hearts and minds. And I think the winner has basically achieved to do all of this at once. She was super good at telling the story, so getting us into the universe and getting intrigued by what she told. She told the story to both heart and mind, so both to the numbers, the content, but also the passion and the vision. I think there was a lot of nerve. And finally, I think she was good at playing the rest of the team even better. So I would like to congratulate Anne-Sophie from ARC as the best presenter.
Congratulations for this very prestigious prize. Well done. Now we have come to the moment everyone has been waiting for. Ladies and gentlemen, it's finally time to announce the winners of tonight. We would like Dorade Nielsen again to join us on stage and to unveil the jury's decision.
Well, thanks a lot, and thank you for so brilliant presentations and cases, and it has really been a pleasure to see you here, all of you. It has been a hard job for the jury to reach a final decision, because you are all so brave and good, and just given it that you have to come up with this solution in 24 hours, we are really amazed. So thanks a lot for that. But nevertheless, we have to find a winner. But before we announce the winner, I would like to announce the second place. And the second place goes to a team that really, on stage, acted as a team, were able to answer the questions in a simple and good manner. And also that kind of played each other good, while at the same time, of course, delivered a very good solution. So place number 2 goes to ARC. So now it's time to announce the winner. And we were quite amazed of the innovative way that you presented the solution for the case. We thought it was very brave and new thinking that we have not seen before. You created a new business model for Novo Nordisk that we have actually not thought about ourselves yet. You were future-oriented, and you actually did solve the question of the case, which I think is what matters in such a contest. So congratulations to Kaisen, very well deserved.
Now, the global case competition has come to an end. Again, congratulations to Kaizen Consulting for winning the global case competition 2020. But also a big thank you and congratulations to all of the teams and participants standing here with us on stage. I can say on behalf of the entire organizing committee behind CBS Case Competition that you are all true winners for making it this far. So congratulations. Let's give them another round of applause.
And then, a big thank you, of course, to our jury members for your time and for deciding upon a winning team. We would also like to thank Industriens Fund for supporting this great case competition and making it all possible. Likewise, thank you to our case developers for putting so many hours into writing this case. We sincerely believe, on behalf of the whole CBS case competition, that you guys have done a tremendous job. Thank you to everyone who participated in this competition. We hope it's been a great learning experience, of course, to see you again next year. And then, of course, thank you to everyone in the audience for showing up today and for supporting all of our finalist teams. And lastly, thank you to everyone who has joined us here tonight live at our live stream channel.
Give yourself another round of applause, huh? It has truly been a fantastic experience to share this with all of you. And we hope to see you again next year. Until then, we hope that you will all join us on our mission to shape a better future for tomorrow. Now, the case competition might be over, but the celebrations have only just begun. So we hope that you will all join us at our Blue Nexus event. We hope to see you all there. Thank you.
Thank you.